Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to take a look at a new variant of Mega Kangaskhan that's been doing the rounds. And today we're going to play Mega Kangaskhan with Smoochum, Bouffalant and a few other friends along the way. So as per usual, in the description below there's going to be usual links. Double the deck list, which is also available to copy in the description below. There's the games that we'll play, and of course the outro of what I think of the deck. And of course there will be a link to the Discord server should you wish to join it. So of course today we are playing another Mega Kangaskhan variant, which we haven't done a Mega Kangaskhan variant for a while. Obviously I need to redo the Joltik one, because obviously that was before rotation. I've already got a list for it, but I wanted to play this version first, because this, in theory, should have a better time into Polt, which we know how much Polt is over the ladder right now. Obviously we already know what Mega Kangaskhan does. I play this card in a lot of decks because of how versatile it is. Obviously, we have the ability of Run Errand, which just lets us draw 2 cards if it's in the active. And then we have the attack for 3 colourless, Rapid Fire combo for 200 plus. We flip a card until we get Tails, and it does 50 more damage for each heads. Really nice basic Pokemon to have. But of course, it is, the colourless energy cost could be intimidating. But that's why we're playing 2 copies of Smoochum with its delightful Kiss attack. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Psychic Energy cards and attach them to one of your bench Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. This is basically a worse Joltik, because it only does 2 energy and it can only go to 1 Pokemon. But realistically, it's going to a Kang, so it's not that big of a deal, to be honest. But obviously, unlike Joltik, this doesn't accelerate anywhere near as much energy. But obviously, Joltik requires an energy to do it. This can do it completely for free, hence this little sign, or this little clear ball looking thing over here to represent a no energy cost. And it's pretty nice to have, just a free way to get energy onto the board, which means you can use your turn attachment and a Crispin if you happen to have it, and you can actually put 4 energy onto the board if you actually get the draws that you need. So there's positives and negatives when it comes to it. Obviously we do have the likes of Munkidori and of course Lillie's Clefairy in this list just to help out with certain matchups. I've decided to chuck in a Team Rocket's Mimikyu and a Yveltal just to give us a few extra options. And to be honest, it's been pretty nice to have in testing. Obviously, we have the Boofs, so, if we have at least one of a Boof, our basic colourless Pokemon takes 60 less. This includes Boofs. We do have the Attack Boundless Power if we ever have to use it, but it's very unlikely we will. But at least as well, even with us playing 3 Kangs, obviously Meowth and Fez and the like, we do at least have the type coverage of the Clefairies, which is pretty nice. And of course, we have the Mimikyus for also type coverage against Terra Pokemon, i.e. Dragapult, because we can use Gemstone Mimicry to copy Dragapult's Phantom Dive. If we have Clefairy down, that's 400 damage, and then we can spread 6 damage counters across their bench. Pretty nice to have. So, let's go to the deck list, and let's have a proper look. And welcome to the deck list. This has been a pretty alright one to test, although I will say the Joltik variant is just better because you get more attackers. And obviously, like I said, for you to actually put the same number of energy on as a Joltik in one go, you need to have Crispin plus an energy in hand. So, there's advantages and disadvantages. Plus as well, the variant of Kang Joltik gets to play Iron Leaves for some type coverage. It gets to play a couple of lightning attackers to obviously cover against Greninja right now. And obviously, you don't have to play Lively Stadium, so that's another thing you can do. You can play the Boofs and you can play Area Zero plus a few, Lightning Terra Pokemon and or, Grass Terra Pokemon. I was debating, cutting the Lively Stadiums, but I've decided to stick with them for this list specifically, because obviously this puts lets energy into play most turns. And to be fair, it's just the safest option. So of course we have 3 Monkeys, 3 Boofs, 3 Kangs, 2 Smoochums, 2 Latias, 2 Clefairies, 1 Bloodmoon Ursaluna, 1 Psyduck, 1 Meowth, 1 Team Rocket's Mimikyu, and of course the Yveltal. We then have 4 Team Rocket's Petrel, 4 Lillies, 3 Boss, 2 Crispin, 1 Brox, 4 Jumbo Ice Cream, 2 Night Stretchers, 2 Wondrous Patches. This is mainly to obviously help keep energy on the board, unlike Clefairy, Mimikyu, and heck, we could even do it to Monkey if we have to use Mind Bend. Then, of course, we have 1 Energy Switch, Precious Trolley as our ace spec, Special Red Card. We also have an Energy Search and 2 Lively Stadium. Then we have 6 Psychic Energy, 4 Dark Energy, and 2 Mist Energy. Now, I will say, if I was to personally pick what I would want to add to this list, like I normally say in a lot of these deck videos, there isn't a lot, to be honest. This list has felt really good. A second energy switch would be nice if, you know, we're struggling to get energy into play, and obviously we have a Dark on a Monkey already. That would be pretty nice to have. This deck suffers quite a bit with its bench space, because obviously, you know, we have to play the Smoochum, the Latias, we need at least one Kang, and then obviously we have to put Boofs down, so that only leaves room for one Monkey. So maybe a Terror approach of like Terrapagos, and obviously, you know, Area 0. So then we can play like a hybrid, you know, tank Terrapagos build, but also have the Kangs as well. Maybe that could be something. We could definitely cut to 2 Kangs, I think. But other than that, really, that's all I've really come to, you know, realise about this deck. So let's get into some games and see how we do. And welcome to our first game. We're playing against someone in Mewtwo rank. Obviously, yes, well, the last video of the previous week, the Hydreigon EX video, that did not go very well, and I'm kind of hoping that this one does, because I've been enjoying this variant. You know, it has, obviously it has flaws, but it does have some advantages when it comes to, you know, the type coverage that it offers is actually pretty good. And no, we're going to go second. We want Petrel for Trolley if that's going to be our opening hand. Let's see what we've got. And we get the Smoochum. Sweet. Like I said, this is a free energy attack, so we can actually just get stuck in. Tool Scrapper, Bug Catching Set. That doesn't really tell me much. The Tool Scrapper is interesting, I will say. There's a Jumbo Ice Cream. Ooh, is this Festival Lead? Ooh, okay, this could be interesting. We're going to need monkeys then, ideally, because then we can move energy off, or move damage off, and obviously start setting up their attackers. But then again, Kang would probably be just, you know, better, because, you know, that sort of thing. So I'm going to play down my Meowth, and I'm going to grab myself a Petrel. Assuming, of course, Trolley isn't prized, which it isn't. Excellent. Let's have a look at the rest of the deck. So we're not prized any energy. That's good for Smoochum, so that's at least something. We've got all the Kangs in there, the Boofs in there. Okay, I think we can work with this. So we'll go Petrel, grab ourselves the Trolley. We'll then Trolley, grab 2 Boofs, a Lati, and do I want second Kang? Probably not. I'll probably want a Monkey. Would probably be my best choice. But then again, I don't have a Kang down, so we need space for a Kang. So I'll fin one out the deck. I need a space for a Kang there, unfortunately. I'm not going to be able to get energy onto it, but I can this turn with Delightful Kiss. So we'll do that and attach to the Kang. I would have liked, obviously, you can kind of see what I mean about bench space, you know. I nearly made a mistake there by not putting down a Kang, but, you know, it's something you have to consider, unfortunately, because, you know, we don't really have... Why are they playing Dawn? Why are you playing Dawn, then? That doesn't make any sense. Unless you have the Rillaboom in the deck, but, you know, I don't know about that. But no, I just feel like this variant is lacking in its bench space, because obviously the Smoochum, you know, it's like the Joltik variant, but obviously, you know, the Joltik can afford to have a tighter bench. This variant, for some reason, just feels like it can't, you know? I don't know what it is, but we'll soon find out. And obviously we do have a lot of healing in this deck, so we can take advantage of that. There's Bug Catching. There's a Grass and End of the Diplin. So they are going to get the attack off, but they need a Festival Grounds. Ideally, anyway. They don't have to. And no, they're just going to do the wave for 80 and take out the Smoochum. Fair enough. That's completely reasonable. We are going to keep a hold of this Lively Stadium, because we are going to need it to bounce their stadiums, but, well, they're not really going to be doing much in that regard, you know. We only have 2 stadiums, they're playing 4, so, you know, that's something to consider. So that's pretty good. I think that's all we're going to do, really. I mean, I could Lilies and try and find a Monkey. That could be quite nice. Yeah, let's do it. See if we can find a Monkey. That would be quite nice. No Monkey, but we do at least get, you know, a boss if we need to do anything. So let's just go for the rapid fire combo. And well, we don't need any heads because it only has 80 HP. I would suspect they are playing the Rillaboom, so we do need to keep an eye on that, because the Rillaboom could make us cost an extra attack or energy attachment. So we need to consider that. But let's see what we can do. Obviously, if we can keep the pressure on the apples, we should be okay here. The Petrel. What's that? Oh no, I know what that's for. I know exactly what that's for. That's for the Lilligan. That increases your damage of grass Pokemon by 20. That's actually pretty smart. I'm not going to lie about that. That is actually pretty smart. Because what that allows him to do is essentially two-shot on normal Kangaskhan. But obviously we have Boofs, so that's not going to work. Another Dawn. They really should be playing Dawns. They should be playing, if they want to find their cards a bit better, they should be playing Hilda, you know. But that's my take on it. But no, I like this tech. This is pretty clever. I'll give you that. So they'll Boom Boom Groove. Let's see if they can get themselves a Pokemon established. Well, they need a stadium established. So right now, they are doing 70 damage twice, so 140 damage. Which is actually pretty good, you know, for a single prizer. Bear in mind, I've got minus 60 on my Boofs. So it's actually, you know, this is actually a pretty dangerous deck to us. But obviously we do have a lot of healing, so that's something we can use. So let's go for a run errand, see if we can draw into anything good. We get the Jumbo Ice Cream, so we can actually... Do we have enough to get... Well, we can fully heal the Kang now, but I don't really need to. I'd want to set up a Munkidori this turn. But I don't have a Dark Energy to do it. But I can at least go Jumbo Ice Cream. I can then Rocket Petrel. Grab a... Ooh, I don't have any Ultra Balls. That's unfortunate. In fact, did I even put it in? Because the original list I found was not playing a lot of Pokemon Search, and I think I've cut down on that. In that case then, I'll just grab another Ice Cream. Because why not? And yeah, they're just going to scoop it up. I don't blame them. You know, I can fully heal their damage that they did there, so, you know... If I was able to find a monkey, I could start moving damage to their, you know, their Thwackys and stuff. But yeah, Festival lead against Tank Kangaskhan, that is pretty tough. Let's go to game 2. And welcome back to game 2. That was a pretty successful game against Festival lead there. We have rised to Corviknight rank. So hopefully this deck will be taking flight. Pardon the bird pun, of course. Yeah, you know, like, even though we don't really play much Search, you know, in this deck. And that's one thing that can bite this deck, is you don't play a lot of Pokemon Search. Like the original list I found had like one Ultra Ball and nothing else. It was just hope you start stuff. So I added in a Brox just to try and like help with that. But I think there could definitely be some more Pokemon Search added to this list. But in fairness, you know, like we do have Trolley and stuff like that, but you can kind of see why I'm debating the Area Zero package and adding in Terapagos. I don't know, I just feel like it's a potential option. And they're making us go first, which isn't too bad, because we can get a Mist on the Kang at the very least. But we face him. Well, that's a Dunsparce, so that tells me nothing. Well, we do start the Raw Trolley, which is nice. So we'll grab 2 Boofs, a Latias, a Kang, and a Smoochum. That feels pretty good. So then we'll go into the Kang. I'll attach Mist just so Kang doesn't get bothered by anything. We'll then run errand. Okay, that's not bad. And we'll pass. Because now what we can do is we can draw 2 off the Kang and then go and Smoochum if we don't find like a Crispin or anything. I wouldn't mind Crispin or using Crispin next turn, but, well, we'll see what happens. And looks like it's a Mega Greninja deck. Okay, we can definitely do something about that. Obviously, our healing is going to be quite important here, but also our curly walls, but they can target these down. They're going to bench a Meowth after they've just used the Lilies. Okay. You're very lucky I didn't go second then, because I would be targeting that with a boss's orders. Is your hand that dead that you need 2 Lilies? I mean, you do you, Chief, but still, let's see what we get up the top. Well, that's a Petrel, so that's not going to help. Let's go for a run errand. There's a Psychic Energy. So yeah, I'm just going to go into my Smoochum, and we'll Delightful Kiss. We're not prized any Psychic. Even better. And that'll do. We don't really need to do anything here because now we can go retreat into Kang, boss the Meowth, and take an early 2-prize lead. So I'm happy with that. You know, they're not... If they're having to drop a Meowth after using 1 Lillies already, their hand is pretty dead, to say the least. There's a Dawn. So they're probably going to grab Mega Greninja here. They could also grab the Fighting Greninja, which would be an issue for us. But we do play... You know, we do have type coverage, so it's not the end of the world. We do have type coverage for the Fighting Greninja. Is he going to Badoo us? I think that's what his plan is here. If he's Badooing us, I'm going to take out this Meowth. Or maybe the Frogadier. Depends on which one. Probably the Frogadier would be more ideal. Has he got the rare candy? He does. Okay. That could be an issue, but we'll see what happens. If he's got turn attachment, he'll probably just, like, you know, smack the Smoochum. But if he doesn't have, you know, 2 attack, like, he doesn't have attach for turn plus the Mortal Shuriken, he's actually not valuing very much. And no, he's just going to go into Badoo. Fair enough. I might just boss the Greninja then, if in that case, because then I'm getting damage on it, and then Kang can obviously come in and do some work. I'd be fine with that, to be honest. So, let's go into the Kang. We'll run arrow for 2. Maybe get a Dark Energy? No, but that's fine. I'll Lively Stadium. It doesn't save the Smoochum, unfortunately. Then we're going to boss the Greninja. And Rapid Fire combo. Because he can't take out this Kang. There's no way he can take out this Kang. And, well, we just knock it out, apparently. I wasn't expecting to do that. 450 damage to that Mega Greninja. That's disgusting, man. And he's just going to scoop it up. I don't blame him. That was evil. Kang, next time though, mate, if you're going to flip coins, only flip 3. We need the flip luck for later, but that was disgusting against that Greninja. But to be fair, he might have been playing the fighting one. But yeah, that was a really disgusting game 2. Let's go to a game 3. Fairly certain my opponent has probably just logged off PTCGL for the day. I wouldn't blame him, to be brutally honest. You know, that was evil, to say the least. Like, I was not expecting to take the knockout there. I was like, I'd never normally get that many coin flips with Kang, so I'll just boss it, hope for the best, and well, we got the knockout, so I was able to take 3 prize cards right there and then. I'm really happy with that. So yeah, pretty good second game there, you know. We would have had, if they had the Fighting Greninja, which I would assume they did, we would have had type coverage with Clefairy, and even Latias could get a swing in if we had to. You know, we could have attached 2 Latias if they had it, and threatened Latias KO, which, you know, not very often I get to do a Latias KO, but when you do, it's quite funny, to say the least. And obviously, we play a lot of Psychic Energy. You know, we play Wondrous Patch. I don't see the issue of it. And he's making me go first. That's... Again, as long as we get a turn attachment, I'm not really bothered, you know. We play 12 energy, so... And we get the Yveltal star. That is actually really good. I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that. Let's see what we are facing. Because we might just Yveltal Trap to start off with. That's not why it's fully in the list. Ooh, it's Dragapult. I might just be tempted then. There's a Smoochum. Okay, we'll trolley first. We've prized 2 Boof. That is pretty bad. I think we just go double Bonky then, and then we save the bench space for that Smoochum. I think that's what we do here. Like, we will need Clefairy, but we won't need Clefairy till later, so that's why I'm electing that choice. Yeah, I think it's fine. So we'll do that. I'll bench the Smoochum anyway. We'll go into the Kangaskhan. We'll run around for 2. And to be fair, trapping them with Dunsparce is actually kind of terrible, so I don't really want to do that. I think I'll just attach to Kang and I'll pass. Because if we top deck Crispin, or if we manage to run around into a Crispin, that would be pretty nice. We take out a Dunsparce, so that'll be pretty nice, you know. That will be an important target later. But other than that, really, I'm pretty happy with that. And of course, being Dragapult, they always have a Lillies in hand. I swear, Dragapult players are playing 6 Lillies, they just don't want to admit it. But obviously we do have Dark Energy, which is nice to attach to Munkidori here. Oh, it's a hammer build. Come on, man. Get a grip. I'm playing Smoochum. You're wasting your time. Like, come on, bro. You are wasting your time playing hammers when I have a Smoochum on the board. Like, come on. You know? But hey, Latias could be a KO attacker in this game. You know, we might be able to do that sort of thing. Obviously, the reason why I've gone Double Monkey is because Double Monkey is safer than just putting one Boof down, which is just going to sit there. So that's kind of why I've done it. Let's go for a run errand. We don't get what we need, but we can go for a Smoochum and attach to Munkidori. I will go Delightful Kiss and set up the Kangaskhan with our last two in deck. So Crispin is offline now. But that's okay. We can deal with that. Like I say, if they do come in with, you know, if they do come in with anything, you know, I doubt they will, because most Dragonport lists are not playing Rare Candy at the minute. There's a couple that are, but that's mainly the Port Noir variants, and, well, this isn't Port Noir, this is just, you know, Port de Dunsparce. If anything, my target for this turn will be the Dracloak, because it's got an energy on it. If they evolve this one and put an energy on it, I'm just going to hit whichever one I don't like, you know. That's all a gag. Obviously, Smoochum is pretty bad for us in this matchup specifically, but we don't really have much of a choice. There's the Risky Ruins and the Dunsparce EX going. Okay, that's fine. There's the Dunsparce. If they don't run away draw, this could be alright, you know, we could work with this. They're going to run away draw, fair enough. Let's see what happens. Obviously, we need to be careful of Watchtower as well, because they probably are playing a Watchtower, if I had to make an assumption. But if they don't evolve this and then put an energy on it, I'm going to target this one, because there's no guarantee I take out Fez. But we could also Yveltal Trap. We do have Energy Surge. We could Yveltal Trap and start, you know, doing that shenanigans. Because they don't really play switch cards, and that I'm thinking I can take advantage of. I can just use this to set up Fez for Kang, and then once I'm done with the clutch maneuver, we can go from there. If he's going to spend a turn attachment getting a Badoo down, which he isn't, I'm happy to probably Yveltal Trap here for a turn. That would be fine, I think, because what it means then is, you know, I can Petrel for Crispin if I want to, and then I can obviously, you know, set up my board a little bit more that way. I think it's safe to do that, because obviously he's got two attachments on his Dracloak already, you know, a Psychic on each. I think it's okay to do that. So let's go for an Energy Search, and plus, remember, Crispin is offline, Joe, you might want to remember that. I think that's what I do here, is I Yveltal Trap at least for one turn. Because like I say, they don't tend to play switch outs. The only real switch out they have is the Dunsparce. But I'm not targeting that. If I do this, I can go Yveltal Trap, put the Kangaskhan into a good favour, and hopefully we can go from there. Because like I said, they don't really play switch outs. I'm happy to play around this. If they have Munkidori, I just fling the 20 that I've just done right back at them. So again, not really worried, you know. Obviously, the main thing here is we're going to need Lillie's Clefairy at some point, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. There's a Pokepad. Like I say, it's very unlikely they play a switch out. I severely doubt it. They can threaten me with the Dragapult all they like. If they can't get, you know, Fez at the active, which I heavily doubt they can, you know, we can just start setting up and just get going. You know, I'm pretty happy with that. But obviously, Kangaskhan is going to have his use very shortly, so that's at least something. He's already a turn attached to this Dracloak, so that Munkidori is useless right now unless he has Crispin. And even if he does, I will just fling it right back so I can kill the Fez. I'm not really worried in this situation, you know. As long as we can put down a Lillies at some point, maybe even a Mimikyu, you know, I'm pretty happy with this. You know, this is not a board state where I'm really worried. The only thing I am worried about is stuff that I might have to deal with two Pults, which that could be an issue because obviously we don't have our Bouffalant set up. That's probably the only thing that worries me, but obviously we do have Jumbo Ice Cream to try and offset that. So hopefully, let's see what he does, because he's not supported for turns, so he could, in theory, Crispin this monkey. But, you know, like I say, I can now take out this Fez, go down to 4 prizes. He's got a Crushing Hammer. Okay, what's your target? If it's Kang, you're wasting your time. Let's see what he does. He's going to get rid of the Dark on Yveltal. Sure, I'm not using it again anyway. You're wasting your Crushing Hammers, mate. Honestly, you are wasting them. See, this is why I'm not worried, you know, because it's a hammer variant, they're focusing so much on controlling my energy, they're not thinking about it. There's Jamming Tower, which doesn't bother us. And I think it's just going to be a pass from there, because, well, what else are they going to do? Other than, you know, Crispin to the monkey, Adrenabrain, and then that's it, you know? They're not really doing anything. I think they've realised that, and that's what's going to let us take the first 2 prizes here. Alright, well, there's Clefairy. That's a really nice top deck. So, I'm just going to retreat into Mega Kangaskhan. We'll then run Iron for 2. I could Petrel for because this would stop Dragapult's Phantom Dive. I could put that on the Smoochum, but I'll be honest, I don't think it's worth the time or the effort. I think I Petrel for a Night Stretcher, grab back that Dark, and set up my Monkey. I think it's fine to do that. Because at the end of the day, he's going to kill Smoochum no matter what, you know? There's going to be a time where he Adrenabrains to it. I'd rather set up that scenario. So then we'll Rapid Fire combo, take out the Fez. This is where we flip a heads. Oh no, we don't. But that's why I did the 20 with the clutch. He couldn't heal with Monkey because he didn't have Crispin. So now we're up 2 prizes already. Plus, don't forget, if he takes out Smoochum, we can bench Clefairy and start doing some shenanigans. At least soon enough, you know. We want to wait for Kangaskhan to go down first. But, you know, that's something that we can do, you know. We even have Munkidori here, which we can potentially take advantage of. If we happen to draw into a Dark Energy, we can get triple Monkey established, which is evil in this matchup. You could say it Yveltal, even though I don't call it Yveltal. I call it Yveltal. It sounds better that way. But yeah, they're definitely going to take out Smoochum this turn. So that's not the worst thing. You know, I'm not really bothered. But the main thing is obviously they're going to put a damage counter on the Latias, which I need to be careful of. You know, Latias is a 2-prizer. But obviously we do have, you know, double Monkey established. We do have the Jumbo Ice Cream. We can Petrel for another Ice Cream. So we could do quite a bit here. We can definitely do quite a bit, which I'm happy with. It's if they take the bait of the Smoochum, which I'm kind of hoping they do. This is also where I would love a couple of Ultra Balls in this list. You know, I would love that. But, well, I didn't make the list. Well, I made most of this list. I based it off of one in Seniors at a recent regional. So I based it off of that. I can't remember the bloke's name, unfortunately. I think he came like top 40 or something like that. I can't remember. Well, technically it's top 64, but yeah, I can't remember his name, unfortunately, but I based off of that. So there's not much change in that regard. He's got a boss. Okay, what's your target? He's targeted by Monkey. That I don't agree with. Because, you know, Monkey's fine to target if, like, you know, you're going to take multiple prize cards, which, yeah, you are. But I can still Munkidori damage right back, you know? And if you put down that Fez, I am targeting that Fez. You know, I'll have Adrenabrain. Unless you put all 6 here, I will have Adrenabrain to take out Fez. And no, he's got the unfair stamp, because of course he does. This is Dragapult, folks. Well, that was a bit of a lie, but that's if we find our Energy Switch plus an Energy. In typical Pult fashion, they always have a Lillies, they always have access to their Fez, and they always have access to Stamp. And this is the matchup I thought was going to have an okay time into, but, well, according to PCGL, not exactly. But, like I said, if we can get the same luck that we did in the previous game, you know, we can get 3 heads and take out a Pult, I will be happy with that. But yeah, they're going to go Phantom Dive, probably take out the Smoochum, put 1 damage here, and then the rest on a Kang, I would imagine. Because they need to try and avoid giving me, like, full monkey value. Because, yeah, I can, you know, I just need 1 damage counter. But, you know, that's just something to think about. Let's see what they do here. The smartest play would be 5 here, 1 here. That's the smartest move. But this is a Dragapult player who has everything. They're probably not going to do that. And no, they've spread the damage out really weirdly. I don't know why they put 10 on the Yveltal. Regardless, they do take 2 prize cards for that maneuver. I'm not really sure what their plan was, but still. The monkey was not the priority there, but still. There's Wondrous Patch. That's pretty good. Let's go for a run errand. Okay, we're not really doing anything right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Adrenabrain off the Latias. I'll put it on the Polt just so I can, you know, do that. And I'm just going to swing. There's not really any reason for me to do anything else this turn. And we get 1 head, so 250. If we had double monkey established, that'd be pretty nice. But they're going to get double monkey established. So that could be bad. I mean, if they do get double monkey, our Yveltal's probably screwed. But to be fair, so is our monkey, but we can deal with that. And yeah, they've got the dark energy, of course they do. It's Paul. You can kind of see why, like, you know, I've been playing less Polt recently because it's just a disgusting deck, you know? Like, you always have everything you need, you know? You don't ever need to worry about anything. You just go, haha, I just have Phantom Dive, I always have my Fire Stamp, I always have Lilies, and I always have my Fez for, you know, extra draw and stuff, you know? And I apparently have double monkey established, like, come on. They could get Yveltal here, but the best target here is Munkidori by a country mile. And as you can see by the timer on the right, they are taking their sweet time with some of their turns. Which is, again, Polt is the new Gardevoir in that regard. If you know, you know. But I'm hoping that we can find, you know, if Kangaskhan is knocked out, that's a bad thing for us, but we do have double Ice Cream, which should help us. Hopefully, anyway. If they go, you know, double Adrenabrain to the Kang, we may not be able to heal enough, which is a problem. There's Crushing Hammer, which if they do that, and they do get the heads, that is actually pretty bad for them. That's actually pretty bad for them. If they target, which they have targeted a Psychic Energy on my Kangaskhan, that is actually pretty bad for them, because I could potentially draw into something, you know? If I had double monkey established, I'd be a lot happier with my board state right now, but unfortunately I don't, because, you know, he Phantom Dive one of them. Let's see where he goes with his damage counters. He's putting them on the monkey, so he is going to take out my monkey this turn. But we are going to be able to take his damage counters off the board at the very least. So that's something, but we are going to struggle potentially with the endgame here. Because he has to put at least 5 damage counters here in order to take out the monkey. So the Latias won't be safe per se, but our Kang should be if we can heal enough. So let's see. Fingers crossed we have enough to get through the game here. We also have option for Bloodmoon on the Fez. But, you know, it's getting a bit squeaky bum time. You know, these hammers are annoying, but they're more detrimental to him than they are me. And of course, being a port player is slow playing, but, well, that's standard. There's Phantom Dive, he's going to take on the monkey, put 1 on the Latias, I would imagine. That's what I would do anyway. But, you know, port players don't tend to think about it. And yep, he's put too many damage counters on, so he's actually just screwed himself there. I don't know why he's done that, but, well, that's his choice, isn't it? Okay. Let's see what we get. The Latias isn't helpful, we need an energy. Petrel for Night Stretcher, that does get us there. But we don't get to heal Kang. We have to attack this turn with Kang. We can't attack with Clefairy this turn. I have to use Petrel for a Night Stretcher. I could also... Then again, no, I don't have anything on Energy Switch. I have to use Night Stretcher here. I would love to get his hand down any further, but unfortunately I can't. So we're going to Night Stretcher back. I'm going to take the Dark Energy, because I can use the Wondrous Patch later. I'll attach the Kang. Jumbo Ice Cream. Jumbo Ice Cream. Now, do I reveal the Clefairy now? Because I could. I could bench Clefairy and Wondrous Patch to it. And that could be something, but then they could Phantom Dive it, so, I don't know. I think I'll wait. I'll just rapid fire combo, take out the Dragapult, and hopefully that should be wraps away. We didn't need to flip our heads there, but it's okay. Down goes the Dragapult. Down goes all their damage counters as well. We have healed 200, well, we've healed 160 damage. Finally, our boos come out the prize cards, but I think it's too little too late. They could have game here. In fact, no, they don't, because they only do 200, unless they're playing damage mods, which I severely doubt. You know, I don't think they win here. Unless they have, like, Blood... But then again, Bloodmoon's 10 off. So, you know, I'm not really sure here. What's their plan? They're probably not going to hand disrupt, because that would involve disrupting their 16-card hand right now. So, we might have this? I don't know. Because we've got 2 energy in the bin, we've got 3 on the Kangaskhan in the active. We could draw into game with Clefairy, so there is an opportunity there. So let's see. Like I said, that double ice cream really saved our bacon there, but obviously now we have our boosts, but I think we don't need our boosts at this point. I think they just focus too much on the monkeys, you know, like I appreciate that the monkeys are good in this matchup, but now your monkeys are just sitting there sitting pretty, you know, they're not really doing anything. And well, as you can see, the port player is taking even more time, but he doesn't know I play this. If he can hand disrupt me, he probably wins this game, but if he can't, then that's wraps, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, they've spent too many times drawing cards. They're not really focusing on the match, they're just focusing on my Munkidoris, which I get it, you know, because you want your monkeys in play, but there's more to this matchup than just Munkidoris, and I think my opponent hasn't learned that. I'm hoping they don't play a Judge or a Special Red Card. That would suck, because we have a lot of cards in deck. We've not really been drawing too much. If they have it, they have it, but I don't think so. And they do have a Judge. Okay. So we do still have an opportunity for game here. Well, there's Boss. There's Boss. Okay, well, we still have our top deck plus Kang, so we do at least have that. Because at this rate, it may be we go Boss on the Fez and just hope for the best. And there's Phantom Dive. Okay, let's see. Because if we get Psychic Energy plus Energy Switch, we can then, you know, offer the top deck plus the Kang. We can then Petrel for Wondrous Patch and Latias. But then again, no, we can't. We can't do that, because Latias hasn't got a Clefairy down. Alright, let's see what we get off the top. Let's go for over there and first. See what we get. This energy. I think I just have to go for it, to be honest. I just have to go for the Fez knockout and just hope for the best. Come on, Kang. Give me a heads. Give me a heads and win me this game. And that's game against Pol. Eat that, you slow-playing Pol. We love to see it. Down goes Fez. That's what you get for slow-playing. And that's a win against a big bad Dragapult. That was closer than I thought, but obviously them having Judge plus Unfair Stamp, that's not normally common in Pol, but, you know, I'll take that win. We deserve that win. That was hard work, but at least we got the win against a slow-playing Port player. And to be fair, this, from what I read in the original, you know, like, deck, when I saw the original deck on Twitter, the original deck maker actually had a good time into Pol, so I'm not surprised that we won that, but at the same time, that was way too close. The fact that they had Stamp plus Judge, they might have even been playing Special Red Card, was just so tough to deal with, but thankfully, the Kangaskhan came through with us in the end, and she decided to roll us aheads. So, what did I think to this deck? I really enjoyed this deck, you know? It's actually a pretty nice deck to play. I mean, in that matchup specifically, prizing 2 Bouffalants was quite painful, to say the least. But even with them focusing down our monkeys for some reason, which I really don't know why they were doing that, you know, they just overcommitted on the Munkidoris, and that's the thing. I only play a couple of Night Stretchers, you know, and it's one of those things, like, yeah, you're dealing with my monkeys, but then you're not dealing with a Kangaskhan, and if you're not dealing with a Kangaskhan, you're not dealing with the deck, you know, you're just dealing with the single prizes. yeah, you got to take 2 prizes on, Munkidori plus Smoochum, but then after that you didn't really have anything. I still had the Munkidori to heal the 10 damage that you put on the Latias, so I set you back a turn. You should have put at least 2 there to warrant me, maybe not healing it. That sort of thing is what my opponent there really should have thought about. In terms of changes, I would personally say that a bit more ball search would be nice, Trolley's nice and all, but if you prize it, it feels bad, and plus, I wouldn't mind a couple of Ultra Balls in this list to play with Wondrous Patch a little bit more. Because at least then, if we're forcing them in that situation to, go Judge or this, that, and the other, they either have a choice. Play a Judge and hand Disrupt to hand, not deal with a Kangaskhan, but deal with a Clefairy, or, go from there, really. And that's why I think, I think a couple of Ultra Balls would really open this list up, especially with the Wondrous Patches. Because then we can go Ultra Ball away energy, attach to Clefairy. We would have had a game with Clefairy if we was able to keep it on the board, if we was able to bench it, obviously, with the Wondrous Patch. That sort of thing. I think that's what this deck needs to look towards. But in terms of, overall consistency, I think I'd probably play the Joltik version still, because you can just slap in a couple of Psychic and call it a day. You can even play a couple of Dark for a couple of Munkidoris if you want. I think the Joltik version just covers more bases, and that's what I think, that's what I think is quite important in the metagame right now. But anyway, I'm going to leave it to it for today. I really hope you enjoyed seeing Mega Kang with the Smoochum and the Bouffalant, even though we didn't really get to use the Bouffalant. And I'll see you next time.